So a Newsmax host was on TV today, and I've talked about Newsmax a lot recently on my show. And recently they were promoting, or at least providing a platform to a QAnon conspiracy that JFK Jr. is still alive and is a Trump supporter. But anyway, the Newsmax host was on TV today, and he was calling out. Well, he didn't say American Jews, but that's who he was calling out, and he's telling them something, and they should really all hear what he's got to say.
As I talk about what's happening in Israel right now, folks, one of the biggest problems is that America is weak. I told you none of this would have ever happened under President Trump, and didn't. Well, a friend of this program, Rabbi Shmuley, really went public today in a big way, denouncing the Biden administration and his, Joe Biden's, response to what's going on. Listen to Rabbi Shmuley, who is in New York.
Where is President Biden to show moral leadership? Where is President Biden to show moral courage that the United States stands with those who fight for freedom and not for terrorists?
Press pause there for a second, actually.
Well, he talks about more.
Well, I can tell you where Biden was. He was on the phone with the Netanyahu regime, giving them his full support, and also, telling them they have a right to do this. Keep on trucking.
Not recognizing the Palestinians at all. That's where Biden was. I mean,
exactly.
You could keep going. It's just, it's amazing. Yeah, unless the United States is nuking the occupied territories on behalf of Israel, some people won't be happy.
I mean, what do these guys want? They want Biden.
They want genocide.
They want him on. They want that, and they want Biden on television stomping on the Palestinian flag. Like, I'm not sure what. He probably would do it if you asked him. Honestly.
I mean, they want Biden to. It sounds like they want Biden to literally and make it a federal law that BDS is illegal. Any form of anti, or rather any form of like pro-Palestinian, solidarity, any form of like anti, occupation literature is treated as though it is, one-to-one with anti-Semitism. If we could just make it a law like that is, the law of the land, that would be probably the only way to fully show that we are behind Israel 100% in this particular fashion.
Right. You playing that clip?
Moral courage. It is something, sadly, that Democrats do not have. And I would ask you, if you are Jewish and you are a Democrat and you are living in America today, how do you support an administration that turns its back on your home country? I do not understand it. Israel is our one true ally in the Middle East.
You sure don't.
Without it, we would be devastating. The world would be in a chaos like you have never seen before. Israel provides
we could leave it there. I just want people to notice what he said. First of all, like I said in the beginning, I used the term American Jews. He couldn't bring himself to do that because I guess in his view, Jews are just living in America. That's what he said. They're not really American. You're not American unless you're a good old Christian boy, right? But then he goes on to say, how can you be a Democrat if you're a Jew living in America when you see their position on your home country? If you are an American Jew, your home country is the United States of America. To say otherwise is insanely anti-Semitic. That's, the definition right there. I mean, the idea that you have some sort of dual allegiance, or like real allegiance to Israel or something. I mean, that's the new right-wing trope, right? Trump was really big on this one.
Well, pull this up. Pull this up. I just sent it in the chat. This is Stinchfield. Stinchfield, the name of the show.
I honestly did not know that was his name, and I saw the. I feel like if you have a name like that and you're going to host the show, totally cool to make up a name for entertainment name for those purposes.
Exactly. It's a bad name.
It sounds like the name is made up. He sounds like a villain in a Guy Ritchie film. Like
right.
Jason Statham eventually has to like roundhouse kick off like a building or something.
It sounds like it's the name of some sort of Indiana town where they have like a football rivalry with the Maplewood. Can you pull up the article I sent? Donald Trump has already said this. I mean, Stinchfield isn't being original with this. Maybe you guys don't even need to pull it up. I can just read the headline. Donald, yeah. And as soon as I say that, yeah, Trump doubles down on calling Jewish Democrats disloyal to Israel. So this isn't an original anti-Semitic trope. I mean, this new Republican Party has been conflating nationality with religion for however long. And yeah, I mean, what more is there to say? Yeah, go on.
I mean, that's the evangelical Christianity part of the party. I think that, is really, along with just the anti-Semitic part, but definitely, this trend of evangelical Christians being incredibly pro Israel, especially when it pertains to, the abuse of Palestinians or just the idea it's their homeland, is like, incredibly common among some sects of the evangelical Christian right. But, not only that point, just to expand on that, the other thing that he was saying about, like, without Israel in the region, there would be chaos, there would be all of this sort of, rampant sort of, or I guess even more violence, one supposes. And that's a common trope too. That's a common trope that we've always heard, in excuse of the abuses that occur, due to colonialism, due to imperialism, due to domestic, crackdown on populations here. This idea that there are just certain populations at home, abroad, entire countries sometimes, or just parts of a country or ethnic populations within a country that just require constant occupation and violent crackdown. In America, it's Black populations. If we didn't have the police, there would be just chaos in the streets, all the chaos that the police keep, in the city of Chicago, I guess, all the violence that's contained there, even though it's so very sad and, a lot of people die, it would be even worse and would be even more diffused if we didn't have them. And that seems to be the same argument that you see, trolled out for Israel in defense of any, not just in defense of Israel, but in the defense of any sort of, expansion of American power, of our influence in the Middle East, whether it's through Israel, whether it's through Saudi Arabia. We are always willing to make this argument that, well, this violence is bad, but it is at least calculated, and it's meant to sort of keep the, uncalculated random violence that would eventually come home, in check.
Well, that's inherently because, they believe Muslims or brown people are inherently violent, right? It's the same justification that we heard during slavery, which was that, sorry?
Okay, no, exactly.
Right, which was just that, oh, well, we have to enslave Black people and we have to keep them in chains because it's for their own good. And I mean, that's the same logic of imperialism, and that's the colonialist, ethno-cleansing, ethno-fascist logic of the Israeli government and the project right now is, well, we have to essentially occupy them, and they work backwards from their conclusion that they want all of the land because, if we let them have clean water, if we let them have healthcare, if we let them have electricity, if we let them have voting rights, then they might just rise up and create chaos for us all because, they're Palestinians. They're not even really human. And they're basically animals. That's how they feel inherently. And that's what they work backwards from.
And of course, just to jump in there, and that's like a core of the issue. And some people are absolutely just getting rich off this. The military industrial complex is absolutely just getting rich off this, even if they don't specifically have an ethnic motive in mind. Someone's making money off of weaponizing other people's ethnic prejudices or, apathy towards those prejudices.
Right. I mean, for what you guys just said, I mean, that's why more and more white supremacists love them. I mean, Israel is literally like, their trajectory is they're losing American Jews, but gaining the American right. It's amazing. Like, what are they going to, like, I mean, that's basically what's going on, really.
And we also very rarely get to hear from the voices of Israeli Jewish people who are anti-occupation. There is always this indexing, when we talk about Israel and the occupation of Palestine, the brutal genocide going on, the apartheid regime, there's always an indexing of this plurality of Israelis who, can prevent us from being able to paint a broad brush about the foreign policy of an entire country. Yet we're never actually privileged enough to see the platforming of those voices. We're just supposed to accept the plurality exists, and that makes it a morally complex issue, even if, we never actually get to see them or they never actually get to wield any power in this equation.